do I have the capacity to take this on? Is this going to burn me out? Or is this something that I actually need to step away from because it doesn't serve my life right now, regardless of what the dollar amount looks like on paper? Again, it kind of goes back to that mindset of my faith, my family, and my business. If I'm running from a place of burnout, I'm not able to provide what my family needs. And then my clients ultimately suffer too, because if I come from a place of doing things just for the dollar, am I actually giving them good service? Am I providing them what they actually need? If I'm low on time and I'm trying to finish things quickly, I think a lot of things really stem from, why am I doing this? Does this make sense for my life right now? Or am I doing it just for another checkbox or another client or more money in the bank?
Welcome to the No Streetlights Podcast. I'm Aaron.
And I'm Tim. We're veterans, here to talk about mental health, resilience, and the real struggles we face every day.
Our goal is to foster kindness through understanding. So, let's take a breath, relax, and be welcome. Vanessa, welcome to the show. I'm sorry Tim can't be with us because of technical difficulties.
That's fine.
But we're happy to have you. And since we're on air, what would you like the audience to know about you?
I feel like this is such a broad question because everybody's so multifaceted. But if I were to narrow it down, I would say that I'm a mom and I am a wife to another business owner. And I own my own business. I'm a woman of faith, and I fully believe that we were created to glorify God in really everything that we do. But I think a lot of times as business owners, we struggle with how to do that within business. And so I am trying to bridge the gap between doing that and running our business holistically in a way where we honor our faith, our family, and our business. So yeah, I feel like it's hard to find yourself outside of those titles, but that's really what I love. I love my business, my family, and my faith.
So tell me a little bit about your business.
I am a branding and marketing strategist, but I'm really big on finding that alignment. And I think it came from my own place of being burnt out or stressed, or just realizing that I think the world tells you that you have to be one way and your faith says differently. And along the way, I learned that it doesn't have to be that. I think that we can have successful businesses, we can have our family, we can have our faith, and they don't have to be sacrificed. So what I like to say is you don't have to sacrifice what is significant to you as you are building. And I think that that is really what it stems from with everything I do. So trying to honor all seasons that you're kind of in.
So you said family, business, faith.
Yes.
Which of the three would you like to touch on next?
I feel like maybe the season that I'm going in, so I'm a mom, but my oldest is out of school for the summer. And so the season that I'm in as a mom, it's more of me being forward facing as a mom. And so, yes, I still work my business. I still have, everything else on the side, but he's my top priority right now. And so I feel like we don't have this thing that's balanced. It's not perfect. It's not always in alignment where your business is 100%, your family is 100%. And so I feel like right now I'm called to, be a mom, stay at home with him. And so I think family would probably be the area that has my focus a little bit more now.
Family, business, faith. If your energies is like 100%,
Mm-hmm.
what percentage do those three categories get? And feel free to think about it or pull out a notepad, because I would have to do that myself. You said family's coming first.
So they ebb and flow. I know that there's times where my business is going to get 80% of my attention, and then it's harder for me to shut off my brain at the end of the day and be in full mom mode. And there's times where, kids are homesick, or there's out of school days, or, home for the summer, or maybe I need my own, time as a person, and so it ebbs and flows. I try my best, of course, to give them, but the one thing I will say is whenever I'm in something, I'm in it 100%. And so when I'm with my kids, I'm not working. When I'm working, I'm not, my focus is on business. It's not, trying to juggle multiple things at one time. I would say that there's not ever a perfect balance, and it's always going to ebb and flow with the percentages of what they get from me in certain moments of time.
I think the way that might be structured is like the primary focus of your life probably gets 60% of your attention. Mm-hmm. Then the secondary probably gets like 30%.
Yeah.
And then the tertiary probably gets about 10%.
Yeah.
But they're not delineated that cleanly, because the 30% and the 10% permeate all throughout that kind of pyramid that is your life.
Yep.
Wow. What have you come on No Streetlights, our platform about love and happiness? And
I think that there's so much power in really healing. So one of the journeys that I've gone through lately is really healing some of the things that I didn't even realize that needed healing.
You do ayahuasca yet?
No.
Okay, well.
Heard great things about it, but no.
It's a hard journey.
Yes. I think that there was so much under the surface that I didn't even realize was there or needed healing until I couldn't even put a name to why it came to the forefront. But I think it helped me as a leader, as a mom, as a wife, in so many areas to address those things. And once I was able to do that, I feel like it really gives a name to a lot of the things that I'm experiencing, now or in the future, to just be able to say, okay, well, I'm making a decision from that. Is that because it's fact, or is that because of some unhealed wound? And so what I did even more recently is, shared that very publicly, things that I was going through.
What's your Mount Rushmore? What are the 4 biggest things that you've grown through? Do you have a top 4?
Okay, I don't know if I have 4. Let me just name things.
Yeah.
There's probably going to be 4 in that.
Since we're doing 3s on this episode, you could give me your top 3.
Okay, so people pleasing has been a really big one that I had to work through.
My aunt's publishing a book. All right.
I'll have to find that one. Validation. So seeking what my worth was really in. And then
external or internal?
Both. So a lot of my internal validation was because of external. It came through in my worth and a lot of other things. And I can dive deeper into that for sure.
Yeah.
Let's see. What would be another one? Oh, I think like the burnout space. So, and that's probably the vulnerability the validation aspect of it. Why was I taking on so many things? And it was to prove my worth in a lot of different areas with business.
So you've got people pleasing or shrinking, depending on who you're talking to.
Yep.
What was the second one? Was validation, external then internal. And then the third one was...
burnout.
Okay, so how have you healed from those 3 things? Or like, what have you learned from healing from those 3 things?
So it stemmed from rejection.
Oh, so we're going to dig down into the root from those 3.
Yes.
Okay.
That's what I uncovered, is that it all stemmed. The reason why I was doing all of these things was because of a rejection. So I never knew my biological father. Yeah. And then it goes like deep. So for time's sake, I don't think I'll go quite that deep, but my mom was very young when she had me. He made the decision not to be in my life, which I thought that I was okay with that. I'd found acceptance, and years later, when I was in my early 20s, my mom made a step to try to find him. Come to find out that he had been murdered. And so
that's complicated.
Yes. And so what I realized in a lot of that is that I never got answers. There wasn't any clarity. And so that rejection became permanent. And in a lot of ways, I was processing that in a lot of things that I was doing, seeking validation from other people, wanting to prove my worth in relationships, in my business, in so many different areas. And what ended up happening is, like, as I was going through business, and I'm building this community of women, right? So I feel like God said, hey, you need to process this before you lead women, because this is a deep wound that needs healing. And so you need to step into figuring out what that looks like before we can go further. There were so many things as I was building the community. I think I was going faster than I had expectations, and then they weren't met, or certain things didn't happen, and I would process them on a deeper level than what needed to be, than it probably was needed to go down. And I would find that, I don't know, it was just a series of different things that ended up, I think, really, I wouldn't say hit rock bottom in that sense, but it was something that I needed to kind of figure out, because it wasn't going in a good direction.
How did you figure that out? What modalities helped you the most?
I had a conversation with a friend of mine, and she said, I had told her about my biological father, and she said, you need to read this book called The Spirit of Rejection. And so I said, okay. Started reading it, and then immediately I was like, okay, I see a lot of similarities in this. Let me go a little bit deeper. Started to dig, started to do research, and I was like, wow, this really sounds so similar to me. And then it just kind of snowballed from there. It was like, oh my gosh, am I doing this because of this? Is this happening because of this? And I think so many parallels started to be exposed that I was like, okay, this really hit the nail on the head as to what I'm experiencing. I think that was probably that first indication that was probably what was going on.
So you had to have a conversation with a close friend to be seen and heard and be able to hold that space for yourself, right?
I think so, yeah. I think she just put a name to something that I didn't even know I was experiencing, something that I didn't even know that I was still struggling with, essentially.
What was the next step?
Going in and just recognizing patterns. Like, when you start getting negative thoughts that come into your mind, like, how do we address those?
Challenge them.
Right. Right.
That's how we address those puppies around here.
Yes. And then recognizing, why am I doing certain things? Am I doing it for the validation, or am I doing it because it's what's necessary? Is it a business mindset, or is it you're seeking validation? So, a contract comes in or a new client comes in. It's like, do I have the capacity to take this on? Is this going to burn me out? Or is this something that I actually need to step away from because it doesn't serve my life right now, regardless of what the dollar amount looks like on paper? Again, it kind of goes back to that mindset of my faith, my family, and my business. If I'm running from a place of burnout, I'm not able to provide what my family needs, and then my faith suffers. And, and then my clients ultimately suffer too, because if I come from a place of doing things, just for the dollar, am I actually giving them good service? Am I providing them what they actually need? If I'm, low on time and I'm trying to finish things quickly. So I think a lot of things really stem from, why am I doing this? Does this make sense for my life right now? Or am I doing it just for another checkbox or another client or more money in the bank,
So I'll consider this your introduction and your episode introduction. It sounds like you came here to talk about freaking purpose.
Yes.
And how your purpose has to be upheld by 3 pillars.
Yep.
And you've probably got 3 things that are trying to pull those pillars down. Yeah. So through introspection, retrospection, journaling, and all these other healthy modalities, you can learn to flourish. Okay, well, now that we've got the intro out of the way. So, Vanessa, if someone is interested in joining your community, I'm thinking of 1 or 2 people in particular here. How would they go about doing that? How can people get a hold of you and find you? Normally we do it at the end. Sorry, change up, guys.
No, it's fine.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of different ways. I believe in being in a lot of different places. But either I have my podcast, which is the Eat and Edit, and that's on YouTube and Spotify, Apple, or on social at Mitera Branding. And then my website at miterabranding.com.
How would you tell Vanessa Mitera of 5 years ago how she could recognize her purpose and walk into it with strength? I think that's going to be chapter 1 of this episode.
I would tell her to listen to the things that she's hearing and honor those, because I think a lot of times I cloud them with overthinking. Thinking that I'm not good enough for this, or it's not ready, or it's not, to just step into it and then
Self-doubt.
To continue to go with that.
That's all you would tell Vanessa 5 years ago?
That's pretty much, yeah, because I feel like so much of mine is labeled in perfectionism. And so it stalls almost everything that I do. And it's perfectionism in the sense of, okay, I'm going to overthink this decision when I already knew what to do. It was already there. And it was already not necessarily laid out for me, but I had what I needed to move forward. Whether that's as a mom, you're overthinking, okay, am I giving my kids the right thing? Am I doing this right? Is this? When in reality it was fine. And if I would have just taken that next step, I think it would have made an even bigger difference. But at the same time, I would say that there's so much power in just the things that you learn in the moment, and give yourself grace for the things that you didn't know and were figuring out. And I think if I didn't go through those things, then it wouldn't have, made me who I am. I know it sounds cheesy, but it's like, you have to go through those things, and you weren't going to get it perfect. So just to do the things.
You've learned a lot about doing.
Yes.
Man, because that's how we get wisdom. You don't get wisdom from thinking. You get knowledge from thinking.
Right.
You get wisdom from doing. Man. Yeah, I think everyone who's where we are, that would be our advice to our 5 years ago, is like, let go, let God.
Mm-hmm.
Just praise and worship in the moment. You're going to make it through it. And you can't grow without rain.
Right. Exactly. Right. You have to go through the storm.
Yeah, no doubt. What's like a helpful thing you do daily as like an executive business lady to keep yourself from regressing into that like death by decision analysis paralysis? Do you count to 10? Do you count to 3? Do you pros and cons? I don't want this to sound like an unhealthy perspective, but you're always in competition with yourself. So in a sense, with branding and marketing, like I'm always trying to produce the next bigger, better thing. And so every time I look at a piece of content, I'm always analyzing it like, how could this be better? But at the end of the day, the mindset that I've had to establish is that I want to get it out, because it's going to be what it needs to be in the moment. And I can always, improve on something later if need be. But I even have it tattooed on my leg. It's like, I am enough as I am, right? Like, so you just have to know that you're enough in that moment and that you did your best and you got to move on. So this is going to be contentious, Vanessa.
Okay.
I've got a bone to pick.
Okay.
So few Sunday Christians understand that the book is an instruction manual.
Yes.
And instructions tell you what to do. It's not a collection of stories to believe in. It's a list of things to do. But it seems like you've woken up enough to see that lesson in that book.
Yeah.
What are your main core like faith foundations right now? What are your core mantras that keep coming up to keep you grounded in your faith?
So one of the things that I had to learn a lot in this past season was having a heavy reliance on him. And like the thoughts that I have in my mind most often didn't allow me to hear him clearly because it was so filled with, well, really the enemy, but trying to dissuade me from, what I'm called to do. And so with that, so many of the things I would second guess, like, okay, I'm not going to make a decision, or I'm going to, redo this again and again, or whatever the case may be. I would second guess it and say, is this you, God, or is this me and my mindset? And then it would kind of paralyze me in a sense from moving forward. So one of the things is being really grounded in scripture and fully understanding it, not just on a surface level, like a, cute devotional, but like understanding what it says because it has so much meaning and so much context. And it can be easily missed if you don't understand it. So that's one really big thing is well, that's two actually, being really grounded in the scripture and then leaning on him, not my own understanding, but just him. And then the last thing I would say is just, again, knowing that it's not going to be perfect, but he's calling me to do it, knowing that I'm not perfect and that he still assigned me to this. And it's okay if I don't have all the answers because I'm not going to, and I'm going to learn. And it's that reliance on knowing that I can't do it on my own. So I would say those would probably be the three.
Just for fun, can I tell you a modern parable?
Yeah.
There was a pottery teacher who had 2 classes. The first class, he said, you're in my classroom for 9 months. You're going to be graded based on how many vasos, whatever you call them, vasodilators, however many vases you can create during my class. And then the second class, he told, you have to turn in 1 vase, 1 perfect vase. That is your job. And do you know which class turned in the better vases?
Neither. Did neither of them?
The quantity.
The quantity?
Yeah. The people who were just churning out 10 vases a day after, 3 months or however long a semester is these days, they were making better stuff than the person who was just focused on making 1 perfect vase. So the way we get better is by doing the daggone thing.
Yep. They didn't have that perfectionist mindset. It's you learn as you go. You're going to improve. It's like if you know of anyone that is in design, or because I did interior design for a little bit in college.
Yeah. What were you telling?
So I did that for a little bit. And, everything that you're doing, it's prototypes. You're constantly like, okay, this didn't work. Let me go on to the next. This didn't work. Let me go on to the, you're always improving. And that's another thing too. What I was saying with my content is you're kind of in competition with yourself in the sense of you're always trying to be improving. It's just a constant improvement, but it doesn't happen if you're not doing anything.
Can I ask you a question with a right answer?
Okay.
Okay. When you die, what can you take with you? What do you take with you when you go?
Your soul, your personality.
What's that composed of?
Emotions, thoughts, feelings.
Okay. So if that's the only thing you can take with you, what should you be working on every single day?
Exactly that.
Exactly that. We all have one job that we cannot avoid, and that's dying.
Yeah.
So we should be bent towards that. That should be the goal, is I have to be prepared for this moment.
Yes.
Because that's the trial. Mm-hmm. So how do you prepare for a trial? Step 1, act right. Right. Step 2, maybe learn something. I don't know.
Yes. Yes.
And then one of the big, I don't know if you knew how Buddhist you were. I have to send you some beads, some prayer beads.
Yes, please enlighten me because I'm curious.
You're already there. Everything you've said has lined up with the Pali Canon.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, that's why I'm having so much fun. I also consider myself a Christian practicing Buddhism.
Oh, that's interesting.
because the premise is let go.
Hmm.
That's,
Yeah.
I think every Christian should be a Buddhist. I think
That's very interesting. You'll totally have to send me in what ways? Because I'm curious.
well, just, I mean, everything you said about caring and love and letting go and finding purpose, that's all just meditation.
Well, it sounds beautiful.
It is. You're experiencing it, and so am I. This is wonderful. So, Vanessa and Aaron from 5 years ago, welcome. Take a breath.
Yes.
Relax.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, so tell me a little bit more about how you, as Vanessa, ensure you have a successful family life.
So my husband is also a business owner. And I feel like what's so interesting is that it doesn't always, like, that's how I would say it's successful, is because of the support, the understanding of what it takes as a business owner. So I think that's helpful because he knows on some level of what you're experiencing.
Yeah.
And then as a parent, I feel like just showing up every day. I mean, I think that you guys are like,
quantity over quality. Show up all the time and you'll have some really great moments in there somewhere.
Yes. I think like this is probably one that people have heard, but this is your first time doing that. So it's a first time being a kid and it's your first time being a parent. And I think that like giving yourself that grace and knowing that like you're not going to get it right all the time.
Giving both of you grace. It's their first time being a kid.
Yes. Yes. So grace on all parts. I think I don't do that perfectly. But I think just the understanding of, again, just knowing that like my kids do get my attention, but it's also okay for me to have an identity outside of being a mom, outside of just being a wife, like all these titles that you wear, like I'm still me. I think I have to find in some ways that just bring me my own joy outside of that. And so I think that's really how we find success, is just knowing that like the prioritization isn't always like, my husband doesn't always expect 100% of me all the time. He knows that I need to be a mom sometimes. He knows that I need to be a business owner, same thing with my kids. And I know that the expectation is just that we try every day, and it's not going to be perfect. So
I hear you, Buddha. Yeah.
That's so funny.
Dude, I hear you.
That's so funny.
It's good is what it is, man. I'm telling you. So if I were to end this interview right now at the 30-minute mark, what would you regret the most not having talked about?
I think that you asked a lot of things that I feel like people, maybe more of like the mental health aspect of it, like the toll that running a business can take on you, like, prioritizing that with family, all of those things.
Yeah. I mean, you've spoken a lot about how with your purpose and your energies and your soul, like you have 100 points of effort for the day. And you get to choose where that goes. And having a successful partnership, we talked very early on that my relationship rule is 100-100. And that's that when my wife needs me, she gets 100% of what I've got right then.
Yep.
And if I need her, I get 100% of what she's got right then.
Exactly.
And sometimes I am at 0. So I'm like a disabled vet and my neck and back's all jacked up and stuff.
Yeah.
And so if I look the wrong way when I sneeze, like for 2 weeks, she might have to be the 100%.
Exactly.
And some days I am the 100%.
Yes. I think that's what really, I've heard that before, in a sense where, there's some days where I tell my husband, like, I'm not 100%. I can maybe give 20%. Can you pick up the other 80?
Clear communication.
That mentality.
Preach.
Yeah. Yes.
Tell me more. How do you maintain your mental health as the Vanessa that's healed so much in the past, healed and learned so much in the past 5 years?
I think that there's a level of in the business space, more specifically, that a lot don't talk about as you're growing and scaling and building teams and doing all of this, that social media does not talk about a lot because it's glamorized. It's like, get to 6 figures, make this money, or 7 figure, it's revenue tied.
Luckily, I don't care about money. I learned that
Yeah.
right after we started this business. I was like, nonprofit status. We're not making money.
Yes, but it's a freeing mindset though. When everything's not tied to how much money is in your bank account. Not that it's a luxury to not have to worry about that in a sense. But I think when the reason why you're doing something is tied to something different. What is your why? What is the reason why you're doing things? If it's for the dollar, then I think that comes with a lot of downside.
You can't take it with you when you go. Why? That's not important.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. But I think there's so much where in the world that we live in now, it's so tied to that. And so on paper, it looks like all these people are being so successful, and it doesn't even have to apply to business, but just in general on social media, people are having this level of success. And then, in our minds, we're like, what am I doing wrong? Am I not cut out for this? Is this not for me? Am I failing? Am I all of these things? And it takes a toll. And I see so many people in this space where they think that they're doing, something wrong, or they should be further along, when in reality, that's not the case for majority of people. If not, I would say it's a very small percentage of people that are what they portray on social media to the level of success that they portray it. And so I think a lot of times in the business space, more specifically, it hinders a lot of our growth, when in reality, we're doing great. Majority of it is your mindset. And so if you believe that you're doing great, your business is going great to a certain degree. And if it's awful and, you need to quit and you need to do all these things, if that's what you believe, then that's more than likely what's going to happen. And so your mindset around everything in your business it really determines so much of your success. So I think a lot of times we don't work on the mental health aspect of it because we're so focused on, I need to make more money and I need to scale and I need to do all of these things. When in reality, if you would just focus on, is this fact? Is this what I need for my life? Is this healthy for me? I think that people would have a different relationship with their business.
What's been the most effective way that you've helped your clients guide themselves to that realization? Is there like a simple thing that works almost every time?
So when I first started my business, it wasn't as bold in my faith as what it is now. And I think it came from the understanding that when we're really grounded in what God says versus what the world says, it really shifts everything. It shifts your priorities. It shifts the way you operate as a business owner. It really, in every area. How you show up for your family, just all these different. So really, when we go back to what does the Bible say? What does it tell you? I think that really helps ground it. And that's where I found the gap, is that there was a need for it because so much of the world is telling you one thing and, the Bible's telling you something completely different. So
can I drop a bomb or a one-liner that's brewing? When you find God, the world gets out of the way.
Yeah, that's exactly.
I think that's the truth I heard behind your words.
Yes. Yep. You might have to trademark that. I might have to.
We'll put it on a shirt with your face on it if you're cool with that.
Yes.
And Mitera branding, or we'll put a
you
QR
can take
code.
full credit.
Man, well, no, this is a blessing that you've bestowed on me. Come on, Buddha. You got to pay homage. Okay, so tell me more about mental health, since that's the thing you would have regretted not talking more about. As
a mom, I think that presents, of course, its own different challenge in business. It takes me, I would say, about 2 years on average I only have 2 boys, but after each one, first of all, they made me better versions of myself. They give me more motivation and just showing up in a different way. Yeah. So I have a 6-year-old and an almost 3-year-old. Yes. Yes. So I'm finally back into this rhythm of, I mean, as they get older, of course, things get a little bit easier in some respects, but I would say I find this new sense of motivation after the 2-year mark. And so from there, I think that there's just of course, as a mom, I think there's so many different things that we don't talk about, like the guilt, the, feeling like, okay, well, I want to start my own business. I want to go and things are picking up and increasing, but what does this look like as a mom? I struggled a lot when, so I was in corporate for 11 years.
As one does.
Yes. And so I was in corporate for 11 years. I was a compliance investigator. So I thought that was so interesting that Tim does something. It's not the same, but when I was in that space, we would investigate, terrorist financing, money laundering, like all of these things that are taxing on your mental. And it was a comfortable job though. And so it made it to where it was a tough decision to step into my own business. But there was a lot of, when I did step into going with my business full time, I was also home with my boys. And so much of that was guilt because I was like, how am I going to run two things, give them my attention and also work on my business? And, a lot of me felt like, I should just be focusing on them. They're young, they have my attention. But then I also felt pulled into this area where I felt like this is something that I want to do as well. I think I quickly learned that it's okay to have an identity outside of just but outside of motherhood and
even owning a business.
Yes. Yep. That it's okay to have both. So but yeah, in that mental space, I think there's a lot of times that, just on the business side that we don't talk about the struggles that we face as we're growing and scaling and trying to run a family and all those things, because it's not what social media portrays.
Yeah. I would say most of us creators probably spend like an hour a day actually on the internet, like exposed on the internet.
Yeah.
So that's 1/24th. Or if you're awake for, 18 hours a day, that's an 18th of who that person really is. So I think that's very important that you tell your audience and our audience that what you're seeing is a very small fraction of who someone is.
Yeah.
And if you hear something that like is maybe unbelievable, you may be able to believe it because 5% of that person's life.
Yeah.
Man, wow. Thank you for that lesson.
I think the last piece that I was going to touch on is just how, like, the importance of healing yourself first.
Well, you can't save no one if you're dead.
Exactly. Exactly. So healing yourself, I think that regardless of whether you're in a business or you're in, corporate or you're not at all, you're retired, whatever the case may be, I think there is a level of what I've experienced myself is that sometimes things are underlying that we don't realize, and they're affecting our everyday actions in a way that can be really harmful, even if it doesn't appear that way. So, for example, my need for validation would show up in, I have to present myself in a certain way, otherwise people won't like me. And if they don't like me, then, just all of these things. And in reality, people weren't thinking that. Most of the time, people are more concerned with themselves. They have no idea, like, yes, they may think your outfit's cute, but it's not that deep. They're not, they're not thinking of, oh my gosh, Vanessa was wearing, so I think that, but it showed up in needing to be perfect in, certain areas. And if people didn't like me, then what? Then it stemmed into the people pleasing. So I would take on more than what was necessary so that people wouldn't be upset with me if I were to say no. And then it, turned into stress, which manifested both internally and with my mindset and physically, like I would get like canker sores and I'd be stressed and I'd get sick to my stomach and I was sick all the time. And that didn't allow me to show up in the best way for my family. And, even in my marriage, certain things, like if my husband didn't, for example, like just say he didn't compliment me or he didn't do this, like, am I not worthy? Am I not, all of these things. And I think that you just don't realize how deep some of these things go. And I think, again, like I had said before, I didn't even, I thought this was something that I had processed, my feeling of not knowing my dad. It was pretty black and white to me. Like, okay, he was young. He wasn't in my life. That's end of story. But it was showing up in so many different ways for me. Even, 33 years later, like I didn't process any of that. And so I think a lot of times we think we're okay, but then all of these other things are telling us otherwise, and they're showing up in different areas.
So if someone's looking to self-rescue from this thought pattern you're describing, what has been your most helpful modality to grow through that pain? Has it been cognitive behavioral therapy, journaling, introspection, meditation?
I would say recognizing why am I thinking what I'm thinking. So like really trying to get to the deeper root of, if you have a feeling, why are you feeling in that way? I don't know what that would be categorized as.
Brain spotting?
Maybe. Yeah. And then just talking out loud, I think sometimes just talking to other people about what I'm feeling in the moment. Is this actually a valid thought, or is this, just my
ghost
mind trying to I think those are some of the most helpful. I think just putting a name to some of the things that I'm feeling has been really helpful to me. Recognizing like, that's just not necessarily a character trait. It's actually something that needs dealt with or looked into in a sense. Not necessarily everything is bad, but what is that healthy for you to have that mentality?
Okay. Man, more letting go.
Yeah.
You're such a good Buddhist.
Let it go.
I'm telling you, man. So I had a mic drop moment. You're all about branding, so I'm sure you've developed one throughout this episode. What have you been brewing up? What's going on up there?
I don't know. I feel like it's not a mic drop moment in a sense, but I feel like if I were to create like a theme for this, is like you have to heal in order to lead. So you really need to heal your mindset, heal things that you might be going through in order to step into that best version of yourself. I think if we're talking about purpose, a lot of it is tied to like sometimes you're being held back by these limiting beliefs that are keeping you from stepping into that next phase.
Life is for the living. If a ghost is keeping you from living your life, let go.
Yes, that was like one of the, it's not a quote, but like one of the pieces where it's like my father who died, 26 years prior was like still an invisible CEO of my business, kind of that mentality.
Oh, in Dune, that would be the Baron Vladimir Harkonnen with Saint Alia of the Knife. Man, What a deep cut. Wow. Okay. You're welcome, Thrift Books, not a sponsor for the 20 orders of Dune you just got.
Yes.
Oh, speaking of books, what are some books you recommend that have really helped you?
Yeah. So there's this one by Joyce Meyer. It's called The Battlefield of the Mind. That one was really good. There's another one, his name, Jonathan. I can't remember his last name, but it talks about, I have it like here somewhere.
Feel free to look at the book.
Faith-driven entrepreneur is a really good one. And then there's the one that I was talking about from Jonathan. It's something about a mountain. Like
John, sign off in the comments. Tell us, what book is this?
Yes. I know it's like really close in proximity over here, but I can't find it. So
that's fair.
But yeah, those ones have been really good.
Have you checked out anything by like Dr. Gabor Mate?
No, I don't think so.
I would highly recommend The Myth of Normal by Dr. Gabor Mate, and probably The Body Keeps the Score.
Oh,
because you'll find out why certain things hurt and where you can let go.
I think I've heard that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I have a lot of friends who are healing through that book. And I'm still too scared to buy it because I know I have so much pain in my body, which means I have so much stuff to let go of.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I'm ready yet.
It might be an indication, though, a nudge if it continually comes up.
Our very good friend and healing facilitator who's helping a lot of people, myself included right now, she says breath, movement, and sound are the 3 things that you can heal with. So what type of breath are you doing? What type of movement are you doing? And what type of sound are you doing? Are you singing and jogging? And
I wish I was doing that. I probably should. Okay, so my life, because I work whatever, essentially, so much of it is spent in front of the computer. And one of the things that I've been integrating a lot, especially because it's nicer out now, is just getting outside and moving around. And unknowingly, I think that has healed so much of like, just get up and move. And when it comes to sound, I almost feel like my podcast has been that form for me because I can express a lot of things that I'm going through in a sense. Yeah, I think that. And then just ingesting like different podcasts and just listening to music I love. Like,
you've talked about breath and sound because, I mean, through music and just being here, you're going to be breathing. If you're businessing as much at the computer, I mean, you could be breathing 3 breaths before and after every meeting. And boom, there's your healing breath every single day. The one thing you haven't talked about is movement.
Well, I have on my podcast, I had a breath coach speak.
Oh, no kidding.
So yeah, so it's kind of crazy you say that.
Speak. They're supposed to just breathe.
Well, at the end of it, she took me through a little bit, but well, she was breathing throughout the whole thing, which is really good. So
good. Yeah. That's the part I had mixed up. So what movement are you doing? You doing stretching?
Getting out, at least walking, even if it's like, so like I have a timer every 45 minutes and I'll just walk like on the exterior of my house, or I'll go on a walk in the morning with my son because it's really easy for me to get lost in my work and hours go by. And I've been in this like space where, you know, when I was in my 9 to 5, I would sit for hours and hours and hours and hours. And so it's natural to me to just sit for long periods of time, but I have to get myself out of that because long-term it's not good. And so every 45 minutes, if I just get up and I move around or I, go to the bathroom, have some water, whatever the case may be, I don't have to go on a jog or do a full workout all the time, but it's just getting up and moving. And then it allows me, I feel like, to be more productive. And then I feel like I show up better in different areas of the day for, certain things. So.
All right. So we're in the closing few minutes. I want to be mindful of your time. So what is your closing message, either to me, yourself, or the audience?
Yeah, I think that there's so much power in sharing what you're going through. And I think a lot of times we don't because fear of judgment. And I think that one thing that we forget is you have autonomy. So you have the freedom to share what you want. But I think there's so much power in just sharing that because people can relate to it and that can free them from some of the things that they're going through. And so I think that there's a lot of people out there that are just looking for someone to say, me too, or I was struggling with that. And sometimes just by sharing certain things, you can heal someone because it can put a name or, a label on something that they're actually experiencing as well that they didn't know. So that's what I would say is just share, be a little bit more of an open book.
Yeah, I totally agree. So some things that are going on politically that I'm only speaking for myself. There's some recent protests and stuff going on. And I think that the world would be a better place if we were all very transparent about our beliefs and stuff instead of trying to hide whatever our motives are. So I totally agree. And I'm very grateful that was your final message of like, hey, if you think it, say it with your chest.
Yeah. Yeah. Say it with your chest.
Don't be a coward. If you think Aaron is stupid, go fight him.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, direct quote, Vanessa Mitera, lawyers, go after her, not me. Thank you very much. Vanessa, thank you for your time. Thank you for all this wisdom. Flabbergasted. I am flabbergasted.
Well, thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot. And when you speak to Tim, please tell him hello.
I will. I will tell Tim hello next time I speak with him.
From me, not from you.
Oh, okay. Should I? I'm not going to tell him your middle name.
Oh, you
Say
can.
from Vanessa Mitera.
Yep.
So thank you. And thank you to each and every one of our listeners for being brave enough to have this conversation in your space today. You know, this, you've probably felt some stress a few times throughout this conversation. So feel free to take a breath and let it go. I know that once we hit this big red button, Vanessa and I are going to take a few breaths to let go of what we just went through.
Yeah.
You should do the same thing, but sincerely, thank you for being here.
Yes, thank you. I had so much fun.
And final reminder, anyone who wants to get at you, where can they find you?
At Mitera Branding on all social, and then MiteraBranding.com, my
Fantastic.
website. So,
and reminder to all of you from all of me, if you don't have your own Sangha, if you don't have a community that loves you and supports you, come join us. We'll love you and support you. And if you're saying something with your whole chest, we'll tell you whether or not it's dumb, whether or not you're wrong, because that's what it means to be part of a healing community and have true friends. Speaking of healing community and true friends, shout out to our Patreon tiers. Up at the top, we got Atticus Thatcher, Eric Spears, Jason Grooms. We also have Highland Markle, new music. Go check it out. And Ketria Hausner, our volunteer director of gratitude. Thank you, Ketria. Whenever you get your thank you letter for coming on the show, that'll be from Ketria. And then we have Casey Shaw at the $5 tier. I'm not supposed to shout her out, but I like breaking rules. And she just started her business, The Handmade Mess. So if you enjoy cute little fucking crocheted things, go check her out on Etsy.
Oh my gosh, that's so cute. I love that.
And a final reminder from all of us to all of you, this podcast cannot be substituted for professional medical advice. If you need help now, please call 911, or you can call or text 988 for immediate intervention. If you want protracted support, you can go to betterhelp.com/NSLP. Gives you 10% off your first month and helps the channel out quite a bit. It's the help you deserve on your terms. Tim usually says this, but I'm grateful I get to say it today. Be good to yourselves and each other. We love you. Peace! Is that how Tim says it? I don't know. Thank you, Vanessa.
Thank you.
No street lights, but we're finding our way. In the dark, but we've got something to say. Lessons learned and stories untold. Come on in, let the truth unfold. Whoa, 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 whoa. Words might cut, some might make you cry.